What if I told you that the biggest obstacle between you and your dreams is something you created yourself? Yes, you heard it right. That obstacle is fear, a potent emotion that has the power to hold us back from reaching our fullest potential. Fear is as natural as breathing. It's part of our human instinct. It aids our survival, warns us of danger, and keeps us on our toes. But when this emotion starts to dictate our decisions, when it becomes the puppet master of our lives, that's when it becomes a problem. Fear can transform from being a protective shield into a gilded cage, keeping us from soaring towards our dreams. It's not the presence of fear that matters, but rather our reaction to it. Hence, the question we should ask ourselves is not whether we are afraid, but rather what are we going to do about it? We all have heard stories of people who have faced their fears and emerged victorious. But let's dive into some real-life anecdotes that truly encapsulate the power of overcoming fear. Take, for instance, the tale of Michelle, a talented musician who was petrified of performing in front of an audience. Stage fright, a common fear, had her in its grip, causing her to miss out on numerous opportunities. She decided to confront her fear head-on. Gradually, she began performing for small gatherings, then larger crowds, and finally, she played her violin at a packed concert hall. The applause she received that night was a testament to her victory over fear. Then there's the story of Amir, a young entrepreneur with a fear of failure. The thought of his business not succeeding paralyzed him, but one day he realized that failure was just a stepping stone to success. He embraced his fear, took the plunge, and launched his startup. Today, he's the proud owner of a thriving enterprise. And who can forget Sarah, who had a crippling fear of heights? She decided to face it in the most daring way possible, by going skydiving. The moment she jumped out of the plane, she was no longer a prisoner to her fear. She was free, soaring in the sky, and from that day on, heights were no longer a barrier for her. Lastly, consider the case of Alex, who suffered from a specific phobia, arachnophobia, or the fear of spiders. Alex decided to tackle his fear by slowly exposing himself to spiders, first through pictures, then videos, and finally he held one in his hands. The once terrifying creatures suddenly didn't seem so scary anymore. These individuals from different walks of life battled different fears. But they had one thing in common: the courage to face their fears. They didn't let their fears define them. Instead, they defined their fears and learned to conquer them. These stories remind us that fear is not insurmountable. It can be faced and it can be conquered. Conquering fear is not about eliminating it, but rather learning to act despite it. Fear, you see, is a primal instinct, a survival mechanism that has been with us since the dawn of humanity. It's not something we can simply switch off, nor should we want to. Fear can protect us, guide us, and even motivate us. But it becomes a problem when it starts to hinder our growth, our dreams, and our happiness. So how do we conquer fear? It's not about charging headlong into the things that terrify us most. That's like trying to climb Mount Everest without any training or preparation. Instead, conquering fear is about taking small, manageable steps. Imagine you're afraid of public speaking. You don't have to jump straight into delivering a TED Talk. You could start by practicing in front of a mirror, then speaking in front of a small group of friends or family. Gradually, you can build up to larger audiences, and with each step, your confidence grows. That's the beauty of this process. You're not just conquering fear, you're also building courage. The same principle applies to any fear. Afraid of heights? Start by climbing a small hill, then move on to a larger one, and eventually you might find yourself standing at the top of a mountain. Fear of failure? Start with small projects, learn from your mistakes, and gradually tackle bigger challenges. Remember, everyone's journey with fear is different. Some of us might take longer to conquer our fears, and that's okay. Some of us might need to take a step back now and then, and that's okay too. What's important is that we're moving, that we're not letting fear hold us back. Fear isn't something to be ashamed of. It's a part of being human, but it doesn't have to define us. We can choose to face our fears, to learn from them, to grow with them, and as we do, we become stronger, braver, more resilient. Remember, the goal isn't to be fearless, but to learn how to dance with fear. So let's embrace the rhythm, move with the beat, and transform our fears into stepping stones towards our dreams. When we conquer our fears, we unlock a world of potential and bring our dreams within reach. Imagine holding the key to a treasure chest, but the key is obscured by a cloud of fear. Once you dispel that cloud, the key becomes visible, and the treasure within the chest, your dreams, become attainable. Overcoming fear is not just about removing an obstacle, it's about personal growth. It's about becoming stronger, more resilient, and more confident. It's about learning that you can face challenges head-on and come out victorious on the other side. This growth doesn't just help you conquer your current fears, it equips you to take on any future challenges that might stand in the way of your dreams. Let's look at a few examples. Consider the story of a woman who had a lifelong fear of failure. She let this fear hold her back from pursuing her dream of starting her own business. But once she faced her fear, once she accepted that failure was a possibility and not the end of the world, she found the courage to take the leap. Today, she runs a successful company and is living her dream. Or think about a young man who was terrified of public speaking. He dreamt of becoming a motivational speaker, but his fear seemed insurmountable. But he didn't let it stop him. He faced his fear, started speaking at small events, and gradually built up his confidence. Now, he inspires thousands with his powerful speeches. These individuals didn't just overcome their fears, they grew as people. They learned to believe in themselves and their abilities. They discovered that they had the power to shape their own destinies, and this realization, this growth brought their dreams within reach. So remember this, your dreams are not just fantasies. They are not just wishful thinking. They are potential realities, waiting for you to make them come true. And the first step towards achieving them is facing your fears. When you conquer your fear, your dreams stop being just dreams. They become possibilities. So are you ready to take the first step towards your dreams? It's time to face your fears, to stare them down until they lose their power over you. Remember, everyone is capable of this. It's not a superpower reserved for the brave or the fearless. It's a human trait built into our DNA. For centuries, our ancestors faced their fears, allowing us to exist today. You are not the first to be afraid, nor will you be the last. What matters is how you handle it, how you choose to move forward. Here's a tip: start small. Take one tiny step towards that thing that scares you. Face it, conquer it, and move on to the next. Before you know it, you'll be on your way to achieving your dreams. Fear is a story we tell ourselves. It's time to rewrite that story and make your dreams a reality. Start today, because every journey begins with a single step.